Breaking news, the Seattle Seahawks have traded DK Metcalf to the Pittsburgh Steelers in exchange for a 2025 second-round pick. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us here on this special edition of Seattle Seahawks Today, powered by Chat Sports. Let's begin with the news coming from Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network, breaking the news, saying the following. The Seahawks are trading wide receiver DK Metcalf to the Steelers for a premium draft compensation per me and Tom Pelissero, as finally Pittsburgh gets its big play weapon. Metcalf will also get a contract extension to go with the trade. Friend of the show, Diana Rossetti, also saying this. The Steelers are sending a 2025 second-round pick to Seattle in exchange for wide receiver DK Metcalf. Pittsburgh will sign Metcalf to a 5-year, $100 million extension per source. So to recap, here's the trade. Seattle gets the 52nd overall pick in this upcoming draft in exchange for giving up DK Metcalf. So Seattle already had a number of picks. Now you add in this second-round pick from Pittsburgh. You have the third-round pick from the Las Vegas Raiders. And you have plenty of cap space now. And John Schneider and Mike Macdonald get the chance to retool this roster with cheaper and younger players. 5 years, $150 million for DK Metcalf, giving him about $30 million a year with the Pittsburgh Steelers for this new long-term deal. And it wasn't cheap for Pittsburgh here, as this makes DK tied with Brandon Ayuk and Tyreek Hill as the fifth highest paid receivers in the NFL. And if you're Seattle here, I think we all know DK is not the fifth best receiver in the NFL. Not even close to being the fifth best receiver in the NFL. So you got rid of him, and you didn't have to pay him money he wasn't worth. Now, I will say, I was hoping for more in a trade. I did think it was unrealistic, the idea of Seattle getting a first and a third for DK like they were originally shopping and hoping for. But the second-round pick could have been nice if you packaged another day 3 pick in there. But I guess it could be worse on that front, too. The sad part about this, folks, it did not have to be this way. DK was a guy that was loved by Seahawk fans, and he was somebody that I think could have played his entire career here with this Seahawks franchise. He felt like a cornerstone piece to this organization. They were building this offense around him. And I know you moved on from Tyler Lockett, but there could have been something special about rolling with JSN and DK Metcalf long term. But ultimately, DK wanted to do something else. And now you begin a new era. You move on from DK, you move on from Geno Smith, and this is Mike Macdonald and John Schneider's team. This is no longer the team that was built by Pete Carroll. And you get the chance to hit the reset button, and you say to yourself, all right, we've been winning 9 and 10 games every single year. We are going to retool this roster. We're going to get the salary cap situation right. We're going to get some draft picks, and we're going to try to do what we can to take the next step. Clearly, based on the decisions that were made this week, John Schneider and Mike Macdonald felt that this team had hit a ceiling, that they were not going to improve and take the next step that they were looking for. And now they're saying to themselves, sure, we might be taking a risk here, but we feel like that we have the opportunity for this to pay off long term, to set ourselves up better to compete for titles in the future. What's your one-word reaction? I'll give you my one-word reaction coming up in just a moment, but I want to hear from you guys first. Let us know what your one-word reaction is. Folks, this is why you subscribe to Seattle Seahawks Today. It has been a crazy day. Big Tex and I, we've been working hard. We've been here since 9:30 this morning, and we're still going strong. And I got to tell you, I pretty much live in the office now. I came in on my off day for the Geno Smith news, and I'm staying late for the DK Metcalf news. And we're going to be live for NFL free agency on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, folks. So if there's another trade, if there's a big free agent signing, you know what we're going to do here? We're going to make a video. Why? Because you guys deserve it. We owe it to you to tell you what is going on and react to it all right here on Seahawks Today. If you're a diehard Seahawks fan, this is the channel for you. Subscribe now. Let's get at least 50 subs off today's video. Turn on notifications so you never miss a moment. Lock us in for free. YouTube.com/SeahawksTV. My one word is disappointed. I am disappointed, not in the trade results, because I didn't think that you could get a ton for DK. As mentioned, I thought it was unrealistic to get a first and a third. But I'm disappointed in DK Metcalf. Personally, I was a DK Metcalf fan. I was a defender of DK Metcalf. I know a lot of you point to the personal foul penalties and the antics and everything that went on and off the field with DK Metcalf. But the thing that I kept saying was that there was a whole lot more good than bad when it came to DK Metcalf. And although he never looked like a top 5 receiver, he was consistent throughout his career. And going into this next season, Mike Macdonald, John Schneider, they said all the right things. They felt like that he could be a focal point of this offense. But now, DK, after this trade request, he moves on, and I feel like this is betrayal. Here I have been, sitting here on this program, defending DK Metcalf. And I have gone out of my way to show this guy some love and to root on DK. Hell, we created a song about DK around here many years ago. And he does this to me. He does this to the 12s. I thought it was highly inappropriate for him to put that trade request within 30 minutes of Tyler Lockett announcing his departure from Seattle. It was so disrespectful to Tyler Lockett the way he handled things. And then to demand this trade here when Seattle wanted you, the 12s had your back, they stood by you, and you don't want to be here any longer, and you're going into a situation in Pittsburgh that has its fair share of question marks as well. I'm hurt by this. I'm hurt personally by DK, and I don't think that he is going to be well-liked or well-respected. He's not going to be well thought of by the 12s going forward from here based on the way he handled things in the final days of his tenure in Seattle. You look at DK's resume, former second-round pick out of Ole Miss, two-time Pro Bowler, second-team All-Pro in 2020, set the Seahawks record for receiving yards in a single season, also set the Seahawks record for most consecutive receiving touchdown games, most 50-plus yard receiving touchdowns. DK had a good run here. And although the numbers never looked like a top 5 receiver, you knew what you were getting with DK Metcalf, as he was close to 1,000 yards almost every season. And he was this year, even though his numbers were down and he missed a couple games due to injury, he took away some of the attention from JSN and helped JSN thrive with what he was able to do. And here's what's frustrating about this DK thing for me. He isn't in a better situation right now. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they don't have a quarterback at the moment. At the time we're recording this, the Pittsburgh Steelers could bring back Justin Fields. They could roll with Russell Wilson. Heck, they're talking to Sam Darnold, just like the Seattle Seahawks are. They are no different in a quarterback situation. Not to mention, they got some serious question marks on that roster. They got a fraud of a head coach in Mike Tomlin, who only won a Super Bowl because he had Bill Cowher's players and he had Bruce Arians and Dick LeBeau as his coordinators. One of the best offensive minds of all time, one of the best defensive minds of all time. Hell, I could have won a Super Bowl with that coaching staff that he was handed. Not to mention, both those guys were left over from the Bill Cowher coaching staff there. He isn't in a better situation. And not to mention, a lot of people were sitting here and saying that DK wanted out of Pittsburgh, out of Seattle, because he didn't want to be the number 2 receiver. He did not want to have to take a back seat to Jackson Smith and Jigba. Well, what I find odd about that was he was sharing with Tyler Lockett for all those years, and now he goes to Pittsburgh, and for now he's joining George Pickens. Now, there are some rumblings that George Pickens could be traded, but George Pickens is a head case, all right? He is not a good guy, if we're going to be honest with you. And now he's going to find himself probably fighting with George Pickens. And I don't think, if George Pickens is still there, that these two are going to get along. I have no reason to think that these two are going to get along at all. Now, as far as Seattle goes, John, you're putting your job on the line here. Moving on from Geno, moving on from DK, and with the major question marks that are on the offensive line and trying to fix this offensive line. John Schneider, you have to capitalize on this opportunity. We can't hear any excuses about this team being poor any longer. Just because there's a lot of homeless people in Seattle doesn't mean that Seattle has to carry themselves, the Seahawks organization, like everybody on the streets there on the pier, okay? You have to capitalize with the money that you have and with the draft picks you now have. Seattle has cap, and they have draft picks that they can utilize. They can get young talent, and they can save money. There's no excuse to be cheap. And now when it comes to this offense, pressure's on Jackson Smith and Jigba. He had a fantastic season. He was a Pro Bowler, but you can't hide around anybody right now. You don't have Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf to take the pressure off you. I think JSN is a star, but we are really going to find out how good he actually is because all of the defenses are going to be putting their attention on Jackson Smith and Jigba. And not to mention, you don't have an elite tight end either. It's all about JSN at this point. Who won the trade? Was it the Hawks or was it the Pittsburgh Steelers? Type C for Seahawks. Type PIT for Pittsburgh Steelers. Weigh in the comments section. Let us know who won this trade. Chime in. Tell me in the comments section below. Appreciate you joining us here on this edition of Seahawks Today. Going to be a crazy next couple days ahead as we have live shows on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Don't miss out. Subscribe. Turn on notifications. YouTube.com/SeahawksTV. I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.